Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, Bismillah. Inshallah, today we will continue the discussion. A quick reminder on your attendance. And as far as for the assignment, I have checked the groups. And in general, almost all of you except one student is still don't have a group. So that student, I have posted the name and the matric number on Telegram. Please address that problem before you regret it. Now, as far as the topic for the assignments are concerned, you are all good to proceed with the topic selected. You still can be more specific in changing the topic. You can be more specific. For example, if you choose a topic on zakat, you can choose whether you want to review zakat issues in Malaysia, Indonesia, or certain selected countries. So in that context, you still can adjust the title of the topics. All right. Now, today, hopefully, I will finish topic 1. That's the plan. And I hope you will do revision for topic 1. My plan is to give you your first quiz 1 next week. I will announce on Telegram when is the time for the quiz. Usually I will open the quiz for certain hours, but when you want to answer it on iTaklim, you are given like 10 minutes or something, right, to finish answering that quiz. For the first quiz, it will be true and false only. That's all. You just write true or false. That's very easy. All right. Okay, so it's based on topic 1. For today, we want to look at what is Islamic economics. If you can recall, in our previous discussions, we started by looking at the meaning of Islam and how Islam as a religion can influence our economic behavior. Not just behavior, Islam also influences our economic ideology, the way how we develop the type of economic system as a Muslim is based on Islamic ideology. Therefore, there are many ways how Islam as a religion influences Islamic economics. But we have yet to understand what is Islamic economics. So that's what we want to achieve today, to understand what is Islamic economics. Based on previous discussion also, I hope by now you can see the difference between Islamic worldview and secular worldview. The reason why understanding these differences are important because when we say Islamic worldview and secular worldview, from Islamic worldview, this is where you will get Islamic economics. But when we say secular worldview, this is where you will get other conventional economics, all right? Other conventional economics, they are from secular worldview. What are, when I say other secular economics, they are, for example, an economic system known as capitalism, right? This is one example of an economic ideology. It's an ideology, then it's become an economic system, right? A capitalist economic system, all right? Capitalism itself is an ideology. And then we have also a socialist economic system, socialism, all right? It is an ideology, but from this ideology, it gives rise to the socialist economic system. And then we have the mixed economic system, right? So all these three other systems, in general, we call them as the conventional economic system. the conventional economic system. Conventional, that's an adjective. Conventional usually refers to the most current, the mainstream. That's basically the definition of conventional, the widely acceptable or the widely accepted way. So conventional economic systems basically refers to the widely acceptable economic system. What about the Islamic economics? Okay. Islamic economics, as of now, is it a mainstream system? So far, we cannot claim to have a full-fledged Islamic economic system. All right, up until now, there is no Islamic country that can confidently say that they are operating in a full-fledged Islamic economic system. Nonetheless, there are many Muslim countries that move towards embracing the Islamic economic system. Malaysia, for example, we have many parts of our economic system are based on Islamic system. All right, for example, the banking system, we have the Islamic financial system. We have the other aspect like halal industry, right? That's also a very important element in the system. All right, and we also talks about how to have muamalat, right? To practice Islamic muamalat in our economic transactions. Right? There are definitely many other aspects of Islamic economics that we need to address to have a complete system. Nonetheless, these are, just to show you how from worldview we have ideologies, and from ideologies, that's where we have the system. So when we say Islamic worldview, with an Islamic worldview, we want to have our Islamic system. In particular, as Muslims, we subscribe to that worldview. All right? As Muslim, we subscribe to Islamic worldview. We are not a spectator. Right? A secularist person may look at us as from the spectator perspective. They look at, this is how Muslims consider their best economic system. All right? But we become the spectator of the other economic system. Like, we disagree in many things about capitalism, socialism, and mixed economic system, because many aspects of those systems are not in line with our worldview. All right? So now, the discussion today mainly comes from the article by Muhammad Akram Khan. Muhammad Akram Khan. Okay? So you are required to go through that article and read the article. When we want to understand what is Islamic economic system, right? Before we go to that, let's define what is economics. Okay, this is clearly defined in many economics textbooks. Basically, economics is number one, is a social science. It is not a pure science, it's a social science. This social science basically studies about how we manage the limited resources. Okay, we have this one problem in economics about limited resources, and in this study we want to know the best way to utilize these limited resources to fulfill human unlimited ones. Basically, these are three important phrases that many standard economics textbook would have it in the definition of economics. So with that in mind, we want to see how different is the definition of economics and Islamic economics. How far they are different, right? So that's we want to see. You mind? I hope you guys are still there. I'm not pressing the wrong key. Okay. Now we want to see okay. Yeah. All right. Going back to my slide. We want to see what is Islamic economics. I want to share with you today two definitions. There are many attempts to define Islamic economics given by many Islamic economists. Before I proceed to the definition, I mentioned the word Islamic economists, not Muslim economists. These two are different. All right. Islamic economists are those economists expert in Islamic economics. They can be non-Muslim. All right. There are many non-Muslims who are actually professors in Islamic finance, even in Islamic economics. All right. For example, one professor from Germany, Volker Nenhaus, he is an expert in Islamic banking and finance. Another professor from UK, Rodney Wilson, right, also an expert in Islamic finance. But they are not Muslim economists. They are Islamic economists, or maybe expert in Islamic finance. All right. So that you need to be clear. So among Islamic economists, they have various ways how they define Islamic economics. Here I want to share two definitions. The first one is given by Muhammad Aslam Hanif, our professor in the Department of Economics. He mentioned that Islamic economics is an approach to interpreting and solving man's economic problems, right? I highlight this one, based on values, norms, laws, and institutions found in and derived from the sources of knowledge in Islam. This definition basically is very much focused into the methodology of Islamic economics. All right? The way how Prof. Aslam defines Islamic economics, at least from my opinion, is very much more concerned about the root process to develop the discipline, because he talks about solving man's economic problems. We need to know what are man's economic problems, all right? And these problems, the solutions would be based on all these values, norms, laws, and institutions. And all these norms, values, laws, institutions, right, to solve the problems should be based on the sources of knowledge in Islam. You need to dig into sources of knowledge in Islam. What are they? We talked about this before, right? There are three. There are two major ones, right? The primary sources, including Quran and Sunnah, are under primary sources, and the secondary sources of knowledge. Our intellect also is part of sources of knowledge in Islam. All right. So this is one definition. Before I go to the second definition, right? So you can please, I encourage you to memorize this definition, because as those students who study Islamic economics, when you tell people that you learn Islamic economics, and many people outside there, they never have the chance to study Islamic economics like you, right? So the first response they would ask you when they know that you study Islamic economics is to ask you about what is Islamic economics. All right, you need to be precise, because this is like what's the term? You are trying to pitch your case, right? This is what we call, there's a specific form, lift, LIFT, lift pitching. You stuck in a lift with someone, and before the lift opens for both of you to get out, you need to impress that person. Okay, the best way to impress someone who asks you about what is Islamic economics is to memorize some definitions given by scholars like this one. All right. Okay. From this definition, he talks about man's economic problems. What are the problems? There are many economics problems, right? You can talk about the earlier major problems in economics, the issue of limited resources, unlimited ones. We need to understand that, which later we will address. There are many other economics problems, inflation, right? Unemployment, income gap, poverty. These are some other common economic problems that we need to deal with them. All right. So this is another definition, and I will use the article by Akram Khan because the second definition here, this is taken from the article by Akram Khan. The first one is from the article by Muhammad Aslam Hanif. Both are the main articles that I ask you to read for this discussion. According to Akram Khan, Islamic economics aims at the study of human falah. The word falah is there. All right. Achieved by organizing the resources of the earth on the basis of cooperation and participation. Quite old definition, but personally, I like this definition. Later, I will share my short video about defining Islamic economics. In that video, I give my own definition of what is Islamic economics. But in defining Islamic economics, right, the way how I define it, I take some definition from Akram Khan's way of defining it. Okay, so now look at this definition by Akram Khan and compare this definition with what is economics that I have mentioned earlier, right? When we say economics is a social science, okay? What is the goal of economics as a social science? To fulfill human unlimited wants, given the limited resources, all right? Three phrases that I mentioned earlier in the definition. Over here, we have three phrases also. The first one is to achieve al-falah. In conventional definition of economics, there is no al-falah. All right. The success in conventional context, in secular context, is based on fulfilling unlimited wants. And that idea of fulfilling unlimited wants is suitable with the secular understanding of aim in life. Remember, we talk about materialism, hedonism, and consumerism. Okay, but in Islam, when we say aim in life, we talk about entering Jannah. All right, entering Jannah is the manifestation of success in life. From an Islamic perspective, right? La yastawi ashabun nar wa ashabul jannah. Ashabul jannati humul faizun. Allah mentioned in surah Al-Hashr, right? Those who not similar, people of the hellfire and people of the paradise. People of the paradise, ashabul jannati humul faizun. Allah mentioned that people of paradise are those who are successful. Right? There are many other similar verses talk about this context of entering paradise equal to success. Al-falah. We talk about the meaning of al-falah from Al-Ghazali's perspective before. When we talk about al-fadail al-nafsiyah, al-fadail al-kharijiyah, al-jismiyah, and al-tafiqiyah. That's also another way how we frame the meaning of al-falah. All right. Now, we want to relate how conducting economic life, participating in economic activities, right, according to the Islamic way, would bring us to achieve al-falah. And Akram Khan mentioned that to achieve that, you need to organize the resources. He doesn't mention about the issue of limited resources in the definition. Later we will see why he just keep silent about whether resources are limited or not, right? But he did mention that in order to achieve al-falah in Islamic economics, the main way are for the economic agents to cooperate and participate. You know, Islamic economics are based on cooperation. We participate in undertaking our economic activities. How we cooperate? A quick model of cooperation is the model under mudarabah musyarakah, that's cooperation. That's also participation. The model under takaful are also based on cooperation and participation. I will not explain that model at this level, but I think some of you may have learned about what is takaful, right? What is mudarabah, what is musyarakah. But in our course, we will discover those in the last chapter, topic 6. So that's the definition given by Akram Khan. All right. So these two definitions for me are good enough for you to memorize, so that you can give a quick answer when people ask you about the definition of Islamic economics. Any question up until now? Please don't write your question in the chat, because I think I cannot handle too many things going on at one time. All right? No question? All right, if there is no question, let's proceed. If you look at the article by Akram Khan, when he talks about, when he introduces Islamic economics, the title of that article is an excerpt of a book. It's from his first chapter, Introduction to Islamic Economics. He breaks this definition into many parts, right? The first part is when he breaks the definition of success, al-falah. In fact, in general, he divides al-falah into these two. All right, very common for us to understand. I mentioned about al-falah in the hereafter is very straightforward. This is known to Muslims, and we accept by faith that there will be a judgment day. Hereafter is for real. Hereafter is for real. All right? Allah mentioned in Al-Quran in many verses about the realities of life, that hereafter is another reality that will come. Just like tomorrow, Friday will happen, hereafter also will happen one day. All right? So remember, secular people don't accept that. Right? Secular individuals reject their reality of life after death, because they say, what's your proof? What's the evidence? They need scientific evidence to believe, in general, like that. Right? So that's this is very however, there are some other religions that believe in life after death, right? Not just Islam, but like Christianity, Judaism, Hindu believe in karma, right? The same with Buddhist, right? Buddhist. So, but pure secular atheists, they reject the reality of hereafter. And in the hereafter, entering the paradise, qad aflahal mu'minun, right? Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Mu'minun, and at verse number 11 or 12, allazina yarisuna al-firdausahum fiha khalidun. Allah promises, right, Jannatul Firdaus as the place of the mu'minun. Right? This is the highest paradise. So this is what we want to achieve, right, to enter the paradise, because this is the manifestation of success. Why we want to enter paradise? Many reasons, right? Many reasons, but ultimately we want to enter paradise because only in paradise you can see Allah Ta'ala. Alright, when you enter paradise, this is when you see Allah Ta'ala as someone that Allah is happy to be with, there is an occasion where the people of Jannah will meet Allah Ta'ala in the best situation, where Allah is pleased with his servants and we are pleased with him. All right. And in Jannah also is the place where we can be with the people that we love. Who else if not our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? All right. So if people say, ikhlas is to do just for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, that's, agree, the highest way of ikhlas, so to say. But if you do ikhlas also, your reward is paradise. And this reward of paradise would link you directly to meet Allah Ta'ala and his Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and other prophets and other good people, right? Those people of paradise. Now, this one is clear. Everyone in the hereafter wants to be successful and to enter paradise. In this world, this is now. We are all in this world now. This is quite complicated because each of us has our own meaning of success. That's make it more complicated. Okay. Akram Khan mentions that in general, in order to be successful in this life, all right, there are 3 prerequisites. The first one is you need to address the issue of survival needs. This is the basic thing, survival needs. And this is mentioned also in surah, simple one, Li'ila fi Quraish. I mentioned this one before. At'amahum min ju'. Right? When Allah relieve us from hunger, that's basically, when you are hungry, that means you are struggling with your survival needs. No food, no clothes, no shelter. These are desperate modes. So in order to be successful in life in this world, this is the first thing you need to address. Right? This is the first thing. You address this, inshallah, you are good to optimize your talent. The second one is this one. This is number 2. I don't have the bullet here. Right? Is freedom from needs and wants. Okay? Freedom from needs and wants. Because in this world, we always dream of something. We want this, we want that. You need to address this temptation. How to address them? Number 1, you get what you want, you get what you need. Khalas. Right? That's number 1. Number 2 is you can also discipline yourself, tell yourself, I can live without all these things. That's also possible. Okay, that's also possible. But for me, I will choose the first option. If you need something, you want something, and these are all halal, sharia compliant, go for it. Why you need to limit yourself? Because if it is not haram, it is permissible, no problem to have that, right? So that's better. Okay, that's, people talk about zuhud. Zuhud in general, right? The meaning of zuhud is not really like you let go of all this world's temptation, that's not really. The meaning of zuhud is actually when you restrain yourself from doing prohibited things. That's zuhud. When you can control yourself from doing something haram. Right? Enjoying this world, which are made halal for us by Allah Ta'ala, that's not problematic. All right? And if you say you still want to be zuhud, like, you want to control yourself, for me, I would tell you, you can only apply a simple lifestyle. Zuhud in the context of simple lifestyle is only fair if you can, if you have the option to do that. What I mean here is, let's say you have a lot of money, but you choose to live a simple life. That's fair, right? That's okay. But if you say you want to live a simple life, but actually you don't have money, you are in the poor or fakir category, that's not fair. That's not fair because you are by default already in that situation. All right? You don't have choice. That's not zuhud in that context. Okay? So this is number 2. Akram Khan mentioned about success in this world require us to free ourselves from needs and want. And number 3, success in this world also involve power and honor. These are important. Power and honor. Not because we want to conquer other people. No. Power means people respect us because of because of our religion. We are talking about Islam here. Alright? You see today, Islam, Muslims are associated with terrorism, for example. Right? People make jokes about our prophets because we don't have the power. People don't respect us because of that. All right. So that's important to understand what is power here. Because when you have power in this world, right, people respect you. You are considered as someone honorable. Okay. Position matters in this world. Position matters. And it is also part of our religion to respect people with, higher position. That's adab. Adab. Okay? Adab. So we don't crave for power and honor for the sake of it. Right? But we still require to position ourselves in a position of power and honor so that easier for other people to listen to us. All right? Now, if you read further about Akram Khan's way of defining success in this world, even he goes further. I will not go to that table, but where in that table he divides success in this world from micro perspective and also macro perspective. In macro perspective, he talks about biological needs, economic needs, and so on. Right? So that's quite detailed, but these are the basic way how he defines success in this world. And he also talks about all these conditions of falah. All right. First here, this is what is falah in the hereafter and in this world. And in order to achieve success, falah in this world and in the hereafter, these are all the conditions we need to fulfill. The first one is the most important one. The first one, the spiritual conditions of falah. This is more related to an individual. Right? We as an individual, okay, as an individual, you can be a worker, you can be a consumer, you can be a firm, you can be a government, someone works with the government, right? So that's an individual. But wherever you are as an individual, wherever you are, your spiritual conditions matters as your moral compass. Right, as your moral compass, as a way how you would know that what you are doing is right or wrong. Your spiritual conditions matters. And we need to work on our spiritual conditions, right? Khusyuk in prayer, that's important. To increase our taqwa of Allah Ta'ala, right? To increase our zikr of Allah Ta'ala, to continue make taubah and to do muhasabah so that we can purify tazkiyah ourselves. Right? These are some elements of spiritual upliftment. Spiritual upliftment. I will not go in detail of this, right? But maybe I just pick one or two here. Taqwa. 3 elements of taqwa. When we say taqwa, ittaqullah, right? We always hear that. Taqwa, there are 3 elements of taqwa. Number 1, taqwa require us to love Allah Ta'ala. Hubbullah, to love Allah Ta'ala as He deserves to be loved. And then taqwa, number 2, involve the elements of fear of Allah Ta'ala. Khawfullah, we fear Allah Ta'ala. And number 3, taqwa also involve the elements of hope in Allah Ta'ala. These are three elements of taqwa, where these three elements, they are providing us with a check and balance to our spiritual compass, right? To improve taqwa, one way to improve taqwa is to achieve this. Khusyuk in prayer. Everything, I think, in our religion, if we can make ourselves to achieve khusyuk in prayer, inshallah, you can see yourself moving up in the chain of spiritual context. All right. I don't have a lot of time to talk about khusyuk in prayer, but hopefully, everyone here at one point in our life so far, we have experienced khusyuk in prayer, especially when you are close to exam time, right? You are more khusyuk than after exam time. Okay, you do more tahajud. People who do tahajud always, that's also, when you do a lot of sunat prayer, that's also as what we call it, signs that you enjoy praying. Enjoying praying means you taste the sweetness of prayer, and that connects to achieving khusyuk. All right, and all this. Right? Why we need to have spiritual conditions? Because in order to develop Islamic economics, we need to have Islamic men. We need Islamic men. I introduced to you the term earlier, Islamic men. This is the common term used in Islamic economics. We don't, because when we say Islamic men, this includes Muslim and non-Muslim. All right? But for Islamic economics to be realized, Muslims should be the champion. And the best Muslim to champion the cause of Islamic economics are those with good spiritual condition. Okay. Now look at the second card, economics condition of falah. This require more people, not just individual. Right? Spiritual, yes, can be individually, but you combine many people with good spiritual conditions, inshallah, we can have a better economic conditions to achieve al-falah. The first one is this Islamic economic system is based on the concept of infaq. Right? Wa mimma razaqnahum yunfiqun. Allah mentioned many times in Al-Quran. Right? The words infaq is can be defined as spending in the permissible way, spending our provisions given in a pleasing way to Allah Ta'ala. All right? Something good for good cause, that's infaq. Okay? And verses in Al-Quran, usually, when Allah talks about taqwa, right? After taqwa, there will be a verse that will talk about infaq, right? Yunfiqun. Nafqah that you give to your family, from the word nafaqah, right? Infaq, spending for the wife, for the kids, for the family, for relatives, that's encouraged, right? Why? Because when you spend money, it will create a multiplier effect in the economy. You study about multiplier, right? That's multiplier effect. When you spend more of your income, that means your marginal propensity to consume is bigger. Therefore, your economic multiplier is bigger. Therefore, each time you spend $1 times with the multiplier effect, the change in GDP will be greater, right? That's the wisdom why we, in our religion, spending is encouraged, not to hoard your income, your gold and silver, all right? So that's required in order to achieve economic success. The second one is economic conditions to achieve success in Islam require us to free ourselves from riba, not to involve in riba, because riba is considered as one of the big sin in our religion. All right. So be careful about riba. We will study more about riba in the last chapter, but I think you have been taught about riba in other courses like muamalat, fiqh muamalat. You should avoid riba, right? In whatever forms it may be. Then number 3, in order to achieve economic conditions of falah, trust is important. Trust involves amanah, right? Wallazina hum li amanatihim wa ahdihim ra'un. Right? Successful person who will enter Jannatul Firdaus, they keep the trust given to them properly. They don't break the trust. They don't betray the trust. Right? And then the next one is economic conditions of falah also require justice. In Surah Ar-Rahman, Allah mentions about mizan. Right? Ala tatghaw fil mizan wa aqimul wazna bil qisti wa la tukhsirul mizan. Right? Allah talks about mizan, weight. Allah mentioned in Surah Ar-Rahman, you don't cheat your measure. All right? Be fair. Right? Be fair when you give measure. We talk about economic justice, but justice can be expanded to a much more wider concept. Like economic justice is one, social justice is one, right? Legal justice is another one. All right? These are common types of justice that become something universal. Everyone wants to be treated in a just way. Okay? And Karam Khan also mentioned that economic conditions of falah require us, Muslims, all economic agents to have this quality, entrepreneurial quality, to be enterprising. You know, if you watch Star Trek, the spaceship is known as Enterprise, right? Enterprise. Enterprise means we are willing to take risk. We are willing to take risk. Star Trek, that Enterprise spaceship go to the frontier of this world, right? Try to explore a new world. So entrepreneur are those people who are willing to take up risk. And this ability to take up risk is something that is not there in abundance among Muslims. We are, in general, Muslims today, we are risk averse. We are afraid. All right? If you watch documentaries today, right? You have documentaries, there are many documentaries now. Look at even YouTuber that like to explore to other remote parts in the world, right? Who are they? Most of them are non-Muslims, right? Very few Muslims are doing this. Because we maybe for me, I consider this because we are not like our previous generation, you know. The early Sahabah and the generations of Muslim, they explore all around the world with the message of Islam. They are very enterprise in that context, right? They become traders also, and they open up new land, Al-Fatah, right? They open up lands with the Nur of Islam, and that's bring economic success together with it. The next card here talk about cultural falah, also important, right? Among other things important to achieve falah in this world leading to hereafter is to manage a proper system of prayer. Salatul Jama'ah in particular. Even during COVID time, we need to manage how we can pray Jama'ah. All right? Also important, which hopefully Allah accept what you are doing now, knowledge. To develop talents like you, right? Being to study knowledge about Islam, economics, and whatever sciences relevant today. This is important because this will determine cultural and social success. Cultural, you can add social success. All right? We need knowledgeable human beings. We need more Muslims to be knowledgeable. All right? And then prohibition of the alcoholic drinks and drugs included, because this would destroy intellect. This would destroy society also. Alhamdulillah, I think in Muslim countries, alcohol is not a big problem. Alcohol, but drugs is a big problem. Okay, drugs is a big problem. I think at least in Malaysia, you can observe that people don't drink alcohol that openly, but you can still, drugs is more rampant than alcohol. Well, that's the problem now. Okay. Proliferation of the environment. This refers to protecting the environment. Today we talk about global warming, plastic pollution, e-waste, sustainable development. All these are being developed because of fast development, destroying the environment, and that's kill the culture and the society. How many of our culture and our social heritage have been destroyed because of modern development? Okay, that's require a proper look. And the last one, in order to achieve cultural and social success, is to enjoy amar ma'ruf nahi munkar. And the last cut here, we also, in order to be successful in this world and in the hereafter, political success is important. Political conditions of falah should be achieved. This is not to support Islamic party. If Islamic party can support Islam, it's okay. But if Islamic party also, you are not sure whether really Islamic or not, that one you can do muhasabah, right? Here we talk about the needs to do jihad, fisabilillah, and the need of the state, the government, to have the political will to implement Islamic rules of the game. Right? We need a government that is serious about Islam, that is willing and committed to put the Islamic system in place. Otherwise, we cannot have that Islamic system that we want to see. Okay, it requires government to implement it. You cannot, for example, take hudud law in your own hand. It's not your right to do it. Right? It's under the agency, the authority. Not you catch people, oh, this is a hudud. No, cannot. Right? You need to, government should be the one that impose all and implement and put into a proper system. Just a quick one about jihad. I think I need to talk a bit on this because this word is taboo. T-A-B-O-O, taboo. Right? Something that people afraid to talk in public. People will misjudge you when we talk about jihad. Jihad in general can be, I'm talking about, I will not avoid the term jihad in this context of battle. Jihadul qatl, where you kill the enemy of Islam. That's it's not the term of jihad that you always hear, right? People will tone it down to jihad, economics jihad, business jihad, knowledge jihad. Yeah, those are also jihad. But let's talk about jihadul qatl, right? Jihadul qatl in Islam is to bring Islam to the land of ignorance. That's why we have the word fatah, right? Fatah, right? Fathul Makkah, for example. Prophets opened Makkah, right? Islam, early Muslims, they go to remote land with the message of Islam. It's not to conquer the land and to take away their ownership of the land. No. If they accept Islam, what happened? The Muslim armies would march ahead and leave those people who now become Muslim to manage their land. That's what happened. They don't take over and become the ruler, change the custom, change their lifestyle. No, we are not like Spain that invaded Philippines and France that invaded many other African states. No, not like that. Right? When Islam came to a place, the culture, right, the ownership of the things remain with the people, especially if they accept Islam or they pay jizya, right? So that's one context of jihad. Jihad can be divided into two: offensive jihad and defensive jihad. Offensive means you attack, right? You become aggressive. Many modern Muslim scholars today have accepted and even give, some of them give a fatwa that there is no need for Muslim countries today to invade other non-Muslim countries, because according to them, whatever Muslim countries that we have today as Muslim countries, these are actually the border of Muslim empires that we had much earlier, especially during the time of Umar al-Khattab. Plus minus somewhere, yeah. I know Belgium and some part of Spain no longer Muslims, but plus minus, in general, we still have the majority of the land under the Islamic civilization before. So many Muslim scholars today mention that there is no need for us to do offensive jihad. Even if there is a need for offensive jihad, Muslim today, scholars today mention that this should not be done by militants. By militants. All right? Militants means normal people, you carry weapons and you with your small groups, you try to have your own agenda. Militancy. All right? Because if there is a need of offensive jihad, today we have paid armies, paid soldiers. Muslim government, Muslim states should be the one responsible to decide on this. Let's say to help our Palestinian brothers. All right? This is under the shoulder of Muslim countries. Okay? It's fardu kifayah. All right? It's the responsibility of the rulers, not normal people like me and you. We can push the agenda, we can lobby the government, yes. But it should not come to you become militants. That's the problem now. Many young people, become so obsessed with certain deviant scholars, they become extremists and they become problems in the society. They bring bad names to Islam. Right? Defensive jihad, on the other hand, the second one, is the one that may require every one of us to participate and defend our dignity, our religion, our house, our land. Defensive. Like, when people come to our nation and they want to invade our land, like what happened in Palestine. Right? I have been to Palestine. Right? I've been to Masjid al-Aqsa. Just before the COVID year, I think 2019, I've been there. I've seen how the Jews discriminated against the Palestinians. Right? I've seen all these, walls being erected in the West Bank. Right? I've been to Hebron, all these places. Right? And I've seen for me, the Palestinians, they are brave. Right? They are brave. They are very dignified people. They don't afraid of all these, Jews, soldiers and whatnot. Right? They are ready to defend their land. The problem facing them is because they don't have weapons. They are basically on their own defending the Holy Land. All right? They are on their own to defend the Holy Land. That's what I can say at this point. Right? But here, going back to our discussion, jihad is important. Don't look at jihad as something that, you are so afraid to dig further. Right? I encourage you to learn more about fiqh al-jihad properly. Learn from the right scholar. Right? Learn from the right scholar. Don't. The problem now, many of you get your scholar from YouTube. Okay, that's can be very concerning. That's not the right way to learn. Yeah, you learn my lecture also from my YouTube, right? But you register with me. You know my CV. I'm qualified to teach a course, right? So that's inshallah safe. Okay, these are just some other materials if you like to go and read. Now, when we talk about Islamic economics, from the definition by Akram Khan, he talks about resources And resources in Islam, I talk about this when I talk about universe, view all about universe. Resources in Islam right, covers these four significant roles. Right? Allah provide us with the resources as a gift to mankind because it is a gift. So therefore, we need to be thankful to Allah Ta'ala. Thankful. Syukur. Alhamdulillah for what we get from Him. And then the resources also becomes the signs to us, right? Ayat, as you can see all these verses, right? We learn, we get knowledge. From this knowledge, we get closer to God. We know that His existence, His power, right? We get through knowledge, right? Scientific knowledge, social science, even primary sources of knowledge, we get those from the universe, from the resources, right? And resources also are important because it's become the means, the tool for us to achieve falah. This world is the place for us to invest to get our place in the hereafter. Right? This is the place. We need to use the resources rightfully so that it's become amal saleh for us, not something that become fasad, something that we do and it's become a sin, right, to us. And then we also need to know that these resources are amanah given, right? Amanah, so we need to, later we are accountable, right? Amanah trust means we are accountable. We will be questioned. So look at, all this. When we talk about resources from Islamic perspective, we have all these four main perspectives for us to consider. And over here, Akram Khan, as I mentioned earlier, did not talk about whether resources are limited or not because among Islamic economists, there is debates about the issue of scarcity of resources, whether resources are limited or not. So the conclusion from those debates are summarized here. We can say that, when we say resources are limited, we in Islamic economics refer it as a relative scarcity. Relative. Right? Resources are limited because of certain factors as follows. I will go very quickly later. Right? These are some other reasons why we find ourselves in a situation of limited resources. However, we cannot say that we have a problem of absolute scarcity. Absolute scarcity refers to the case where resources are seriously for real. If you are not careful, will extinct, will finish, and slowly and surely we will die because of limited resources. We cannot, many Islamic economists reject the concept of absolute scarcity. Why? Because of some verses in Al-Quran, for example, as quoted here. Right? If we were to measure the bounties given by Allah Ta'ala, we cannot measure them. Right? That's the gist of this long verse. You can also see that قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. Indeed, Allah has provided everything in due proportion. Right? Resources are given in due proportion, not too much, not too little, but as we need them. Okay? And وَيَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Allah can give without hisab. Can give more and more to whomsoever He pleases. Right? Given those examples of verses, some or majority of Muslim economists argue that there is no absolute scarcity in Islamic economics. So when we say scarcity from an Islamic perspective, no absolute scarcity. Why? Because of verses quoted earlier. However, when we say economics, including Islamic economics cannot exist without the problem of scarcity. Yes, we admit scarcity is still there, but here we are talking about the concept of relative scarcity. At certain time, at certain place, we may encounter the problem. For example, Singapore is facing the problem of limited land, right? Why do we have limited relative scarcity? Because of this reason, right? Limited resources given certain time and place. Singapore, as I mentioned earlier. Number two, limited knowledge to tap the available resources. Allah provides enough resources. However, our knowledge is still not yet there to discover and to know how to utilize the resources. All right? So that's also can be the reason. Next is about our behavior. Right? Some people, they are greedy. They want more for themselves because they say they need, their wants are unlimited. That's also create a problem, right? Greediness, okay? Or stinginess, all right? And then there is also a problem when we, in general, improperly use the resources, right? Wastefulness is one problem, improper use, you know, that creates the problem of limited, relatively scarce resources, right? Improper use. And lastly, it can be also due to the way how we distribute wealth and income, you know. It's so later we will talk about distribution in chapter 5. But these are among the reasons. So here, in the definition of Akram Khan, he did not mention about whether resources are limited or not because of the debates among Islamic economists, right, on the issue whether resources are actually absolutely scarce or not. So we divide the concept into two. We say that given the Quranic verses, right, we can say that there is no absolute scarcity, right? But we are actually talking about the concept of relative scarcity. And the last thing to discuss about the definition by Akram Khan is to understand this concept of participation and cooperation, right? What's the resources? All right, this one, participation and cooperation. I give some example here, right? For example, in Islamic economics, cooperation are encouraged, right? In undertaking economic activities. For example, the concept of mudarabah, okay, musyarakah, as I mentioned. Participation, cooperation also are required to help one another, right? For example, sadaqah, maniha, I will explain later, not today. And cooperation in the economic system, helping one another and so on. So those are some of the key points that I like to mention from the article written by Akram Khan. Okay, so basically that's our discussion for today. My short videos about this topic will come close to 5 o'clock today on Telegram. So that's all. Quick question if you have any. Okay, please read. Remember, next week I will announce your first quiz next week. All right. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.